When I was younger, people all around me would talk about what they dreamt the night before. When the conversation would turn to me, I would always say I didn't remember or I didn't have a dream. It never really bothered me before. It was only when I got older I realized that other people had different experiences when they slept. One morning, my older brother and little sister were talking to our mom about what they had dreamt. When they were done, she asked me, "Anything, baby?" "Nope, nothing at all. Not even a nightmare." I remember that day clearly. I was around 12 or 13. My mother was making dinner. I told her, "From now on, I'm going to dream. I'm going to make sure that I dream." Looking back now, she probably thought I was crazy. But she looked at me and gave me a big smile and said, "Okay, baby, that's good." From that night on, I focused my mind so that I can have a dream. I would lay there and think to myself as I fell asleep, "Dream, dream, dream." I repeated it over and over again in my head. And it worked. Eventually, I could constantly dream. I went from an average of 3 nightmares a month to 20 dreams a month and no nightmares. It was just that now I realized that when people talked about their dreams, they would say that they didn't know they were dreaming. Then look at me weird when I said I always knew when I was dreaming. I slowly started to realize that no one else around me could tell when they were dreaming, but I could. Not only that, I was able to control my dreams. And I'm not talking about on a small scale. No, I'm talking about on a large scale. Like every aspect of it. I would manipulate my dreams into whatever I wanted them to be. I would start off by letting the dream begin on its own and watching things happen. Then I would change every aspect of it to what I wanted it to be. Me as a celebrity surrounded by paparazzi, done. If I wanted to be in a high-speed chase on a winding road, there I was. Or even the simple things. If I wanted to be eating at a large buffet surrounded by my favorite foods, I could change it into that as well. When I first started doing this, I thought it was normal. Because, well, you know how people always ask, "What's your dream? What do you want to be when you grow up?" I thought that made sense because it's something that you can control. So by that logic, I thought everyone was able to do what I did. But like I said, I quickly learned that wasn't true. Nobody else could do what I did. At least nobody else I knew around me. Things started going downhill about a year ago. It started off small. Everything would be going fine. I'd be in control, and then something small would happen. Like a fracture. Something breaking within the dream. It wasn't scary, just odd. As time went by, I could see the fractures becoming more consistent. One night, I saw something. There was something there. Something that I didn't make up. And for some strange reason, it was something that I couldn't control. Things would be going so perfectly that when the fractures would start to happen, I wouldn't leave right away. I would stay, trying to change them back to the way they were before. But that always made the slow transition turn into a rapid decline. Then things started to become increasingly terrifying. I felt like I was in danger. I found myself running, trying to escape. Out of breath, I started chanting. My limbs felt heavy. I felt like I was running neck deep in water. Eventually, I forced myself awake. After that experience, anyone with a half a brain would stop, right? Well, I wasn't that bright. The next night I wanted a party. I decided to make an Independence Day theme party in a park. It was beautiful. Music, fireworks, people were dancing the night away. This time, nothing changed. There was no fracture. So I chalked up the night before to me being paranoid. Everything was going so smoothly. That's when I saw it. In the distance, there was something that stepped out of the shadows. It was emaciated, with pale, clammy skin. Where its face should have been, there was nothing, just completely smooth skin. Somehow, as time passed, it slowly morphed its face to look like me. Its face almost looked like mine, except where my brown eyes should have been, there were hollowed out black sockets. I could feel my breath starting to slow and panic starting to set in. I can't explain it, but it felt like it was me. I just stood there in shock, just staring at it. It took slow steps forward, as if trying not to startle me. As it stepped closer to me and further out of the shadows, I could see it stood on hind legs. Somehow, out of fear, I found myself giving it a nervous laugh. It smiled back at me, trying to mimic my laugh, but the laugh came out as a long shriek. The thing's mouth opened impossibly wide, revealing long, jagged teeth, double the amount of a human. At that moment, I decided I would never lucid dream again. I don't know how, and I don't know when, but I ran. I could hear it behind me, moving faster than I expected it to, closing the distance between us. I was trying to wake myself up, but this time, it wasn't working. I could hear it right behind me now. I tried even harder to wake up. That's when it grabbed my arm. I screamed. I screamed louder than I ever had in my life. I woke up screaming at the top of my lungs. My mom and siblings burst into my room, flipping on the lights, only to find me wailing, rocking back and forth in a seated fetal position. I tried to tell them what happened, but all I could say was that it grabbed me. I repeated it over and over again. I could see they didn't believe me. As I continued crying and rocking, my mom sat on the bed next to me. "It's okay, baby. Everything is okay now." My brother crouched down at the side of my bed and said, "It was just a bad dream. Nothing tried to get you." Grabbing my arm, he said,
"See? Your arm is fine."
I spun around in the bed to show my other arm. Before I could fully turn, my brother fell back and my mother gasped. "What is it?" I said as I looked down at my arm. I clearly had a large bruise on it, in the shape of an extremely thin hand. That night, we all stayed in Mom's room. No one slept. We spent the night listening to her read her Bible out loud. The next day, Mom took me to our church and had the pastor pray for me. After he was done, he talked to us, but he was trying to convince me that what happened was all in my head. I looked up at my mom, waiting for her to back me up, but she didn't. So I sat there for another 20 minutes, not responding, not saying a single word. I felt numb. She saw my arm. This could not be happening was the only thing that played in my head over and over. Once the pastor was done speaking to me, we walked out of the church and got into the car. Once we were on the road, my mother said, "Nothing happened that night. It was just a bad dream." I didn't even look at her or respond. I just sat there. When we got home, I walked into the front room where my siblings were sitting. Without warning, I asked, "Did you see what happened to my arm last night?" My brother looked down at his feet and muttered a short no. My little sister said,
"Mom said to tell you nothing happened. We didn't see the scary handprint on your arm."
I turned around to see my mom's face. It was cold. "If you bring it up again, I'll carry you back to the pastor. Or better yet, I'll carry you to a psychologist. You're scaring your sister." She meant what she said. For the next few weeks, every time I brought it up, she would take me to a psychologist. I tried to tell him what happened and that somehow I thought I brought it back with me. But he didn't listen. Nobody believed me. They all thought I was crazy. Sometimes I thought I was crazy too. I could tell if I kept trying to convince them, it would only be a matter of time before they sent me away. So I dropped it. It's been months now since I've mentioned it. I could see they're all starting to forget. Not me though. I can't forget. There's something that tells me to do things, and I know it's that evil thing from my dreams. It tells me to do malicious and unspeakable things. Of course I refuse. But sometimes I give in, because it's the only thing that stops the noise in my head. It really wanted me to start controlling my dreams again, but that was something that I couldn't do. I really enjoyed my dreams when I did have them. Now I don't even try anymore. I'm back to where I started. I have about 3 nightmares a month, no dreams. And I'm completely fine with that. It's just, well, I feel like it's still here with me. Sometimes I can see it out of the corner of my eye. Maybe it's paranoia, or I'm actually going crazy. Listen, if you can lucid dream, don't. There's something there. Something evil. It wants life, and it has no problem with taking yours. Every now and then, I get this weird impulse to do it all over again. It was so addictive, being able to control something like that. But it doesn't matter how sad I get, how much I crave to be in control, or how much I crave that freedom. I know if I try it, I won't be able to come back, and something will return in my place. There's something there, something that's in the shadows, waiting for me to slip up again, waiting for me to make that mistake, my last mistake. I'm tired. I'm so tired. I want to go back. Thank you, Miss Stone. That's all the time we have today, Dr. Johnson said as he closed his notebook and stood to leave. As I laid there on the soft pillow, everything I told Dr. Johnson replayed in my head. I am tired. I love this room. Wall-to-wall pillows. It would be perfect for dreaming. You're not listening to me. It doesn't add up. Every evaluation we give her shows that she's mentally stable. It's just her story. She's 100% convinced about this demon. Plus, she passes every polygraph test telling her story. Doc, I don't have time for this. If you think she's mentally sound, then send up your supporting paperwork and I'll have her sent to maximum security prison. No, it's not that. I think she's right. I think there's something there. What? Doc, do you hear yourself? Finally looking up from the stack of papers in his hand, Mike stared at Dr. Johnson. I know the workload has been a lot lately, and I really appreciate all the work that you put in without complaint. I'm going to schedule you a vacation next month. Yeah, thanks. You look a bit rough. How's your sleep been lately? I can't go to sleep. It's waiting on me. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share, and subscribe. It really helps out my channel. And remember, the best thing you can have is a beautiful nightmare.